Alrighty, welcome to episode 257 of Tokwa's Ask Us Anything. As usual, it's been a pretty busy news week. At its Q1 earnings call, Tesla has declared its version 3 autopilot hardware has ultimately been incapable of delivering unsupervised full self-driving. Tesla has proposed two alternative remedies for affected Tesla owners. Affected owners will be offered a trade-in discount to purchase a new car or will eventually be offered a free computer and camera upgrade. Tesla also promised in the interim that Hardware 3 cars would receive an FSD version 14 Lite software upgrade sometime in the middle of this year. And that was this week's news. Indeed it was, and once again, welcome to the program. Alrighty, if there is anyone, and we've actually got a pretty full board, if there is anyone who is new and is comfortable in doing so, please unmute and say hello.
Hi, my name's Kath. Brand new, so new. Don't even have my Tesla yet. It's still being held hostage, so I might get it one day
Welcome,
in the next 2 weeks.
welcome, Kath. So, speaking of which, did you get a time slot for your delivery?
I do. So it's not until the 12th.
Oh, well, well. Is there anyone else says? Oh, sorry, actually, and once again, welcome, Kath, and we're going to get straight into your car in a moment.
Mhm.
Um, there's a great segue, but let's just get anyone else to say hello first, and then we'll go straight back to you, Kath, and then I'm going to go straight back to the gentleman who's in the upper right-hand corner of my screen, and I think he knows who he is. So, anyone else that would like to say hello? No, or perhaps a little bit later on. Okay, so Kath, so you got the 12th. Congratulations. What sort of car did you order, and what are you waiting for?
I ordered a Model Y rear wheel drive, and I splurged a little bit and got the full self drive as well.
Oh, wow, awesome. That'll be great. Now, actually, it's probably a good time to set expectations. At the moment, we don't know whether the FSD will be active as soon as you get your car. The reason being that in the past, Tesla regularly ships the cars with a version of software that's like a factory version of software, which often is more recent than the current normal version that most cars in the fleet have. So what happened last year was there was a whole lot of Model Ys, and I guess, well, I just know certainly Model Ys, that when they arrived, their version was younger than the mainstream version that had FSD on it, and those cars had to wait a number of weeks before they received a software update and the FSD was enabled. So there is a risk. One of my mates had a look at the cars at O'Connor and noted that the Model Y L, which is a brand new car that's coming into Australia, well, now,
Yeah.
it had a dot software release of dot 300, and it notably in the showroom didn't show FSD in the screen, whereas the car next to it, which was also a Model Y but was older, it did have FSD and had a mainstream version. So just in case, you might want to set your expectation that the FSD, even though you've prepaid for it,
Mm.
there's a chance it might not actually be available on the day you get your car. But
Yeah,
we don't know what.
I did Google, and Google told me that, and I was a little bit pissed off with Google, and I argued with Google, but it obviously
Yes,
didn't do me any good. So
no, no, that's the
I'm
spirit.
setting my
Blame
bar
Google.
low to go that I'm going to be very disappointed that I won't be able to hit the little full self-drive button as soon as I
I,
get my car.
I must admit that Elon Musk is probably going to give Sergey Brin a little chat because I used to be friends, as he explained in court, and say, "Oh, sorry, sorry, Sergey. It was actually Google's fault that we put out the wrong software update on our cars and don't give our valued customers FSD on time." But yeah, so just in case, Yeah, that it might happen. We just don't know,
Um,
and we won't
Harold,
know until we get the car.
uh, Kath, are you driving an EV at the moment, or where are you coming from? What car?
No, no, I'm only just in a low little Mazda 3 at the moment. I have driven a Tesla. Both my sister and my brother-in-law have Teslas. So I've driven their Teslas. They've got a Model Y and a Model 3. So
Okay. Yeah.
So
Okay.
you're going to be well looked after as far as advice and charging accoutrement and all that sort of stuff.
yeah, he's like my brother-in-law was the person who had to be conned into getting the Tesla to start with. He did not want one. And they now have the Model Y, the Model 3, and he has two more Teslas in his man shed that he's fixing up.
That
Right.
that is classic.
Yeah.
So he's gone from a total, not even a skeptic. What would you call it?
Convert.
No. He's gone
Yes.
from a Tesla rejector, like this
Mhm.
is like a Luddite. He's gone from a Tesla Luddite to an absolute fanboy that can't that too many Teslas are barely enough.
Exactly. He literally, my sister will get home and there'll be a new broken down secondhand Tesla sitting in his shed that he's fixing.
Oh, that's awesome.
Deary me.
Kath, so the fact that the car that you'll get delivered doesn't have or may not have FSD that you can actually use is probably not a bad thing because at least it gives you a chance to learn how to drive the car manually. And that's probably a good thing because even once you get full self driving, if you do ever have to intervene or what have you, it's good to know exactly how to drive the car manually
Yep.
before you start relying on FSD. So it's
Oh, look, I
actually,
totally agree with you. I was looking after my sister's place, their dog actually down in Yellingup. So I got to drive their car, and I will admit, yeah, it took a while to get used to, particularly with the braking, or rather not really braking, just taking your foot off the accelerator and not doing it too fast, because otherwise the car just comes to a total stop and people honk at you behind because you stop suddenly. It is a very different manner of driving, I will admit. Yeah.
yeah,
It
exactly.
is, but it's something you'll get used to very quickly. You'll be an expert at that feathering. Well, sorry, for the short period of time that you'll be manually driving, because once you get FSD, you'll probably never really manually drive much at all. But in that short little changeover period, your brain will latch in and it'll be perfect. You'll actually enjoy the thrill of feathering it just perfectly to come to a stop just before the white line at the sort of traffic lights and other things. So you can have
Yeah.
lots
I
of
was
fun.
set on getting the Tesla anyway. And the lady, when I went in just to talk to them at O'Connor, she went, "Oh, would you like to go for a test drive?" And I went, "Oh, I've driven one before." She went, "Oh, but it's the new model and we've got the full self drive." And I went, "Oh, okay." And I went, "I've driven my sister's. I'm really sorry, but it's really fucking dangerous. I hate it. I kept waiting for it to go into frigging trees." And she's gone, "That doesn't sound like full self drive." And I said, "Oh no, it's the previous." I said they had the
Autopilot.
autopilot thing and the enhanced, and she went, "Oh, I think you might like this version." Put me in the car, and I just went, "Okay, I'm sold." And
Yep. Take my money. Yep.
yeah, basically, yeah.
Excellent.
It,
And I
Fantastic.
kind of went for that because I want to do a bit of traveling in it, and but because I'm by myself, I figured there's lots of times out on the open road, nobody to share driving with. So I thought it was the better option going for the full self drive than the long range sort of version, personally.
Yep. So in fact, you're going to be surprisingly relaxed because what you can do is you don't have to sort of partake in the minutiae of lane keeping and everything else and keeping your speed and all that sort of stuff. You can effectively sort of be like a captain of a ship whereby you're just observing things happening and then you can just intervene in that rare occasion that you might need to. So it's going to be any trip you do is going to be quite relaxing. Once you get used to, and you're probably obviously already starting to get used to what the car will do, particularly under FSD. Having said that, and sorry, Pete, I just muted you briefly because, yeah, just cause, but you're all good now. So you can unmute anytime you like, Pete. Um, uh,
Want to do it
what
now?
what you'll find is that um, yeah, it's super safe. There are a couple of initial wrinkles. The car can, on really narrow bits of road that are windy, go over into the wrong side of the road. And I know that sounds really disturbing, and I guess it technically is, but you can see when it does it, and you just sort of just grab the steering wheel and stop it from doing that. It does it in fairly predictable locations. Um, it's not perfect under FSD yet, but there are further software updates coming, and it will just get better and better. It's probably at about 90%, so to perfection. So we're about 90% there. There's a couple of tiny wrinkles, but there are quite a few of us in the room that have done many, many thousands of kilometers on FSD, and it's just so relaxing. It'll be great. And in the end, later on, when all of us hopefully become very elderly and infirm, these cars will basically be a lifesaver because it means we'll be able to continue to use them and enjoy them and not have to rely on normal faculties that we normal drivers need to drive a car. So
Mm.
it'll be a great it's a great thing that's going to happen.
Agreed. That's one of the arguments I had with a friend of mine who is very, very anti and saying that no, that the full self-driving and almost blaming it and saying, no, but what about those people who like to speed and who like to, and it's like, well, that's not the world's problem. And there are places they can go to do that. And so I was trying to point out, no, but the benefits. I mean, you know what? My dad went from being self-sufficient with mum and dad at home and going out regularly and all the rest of it to in a nursing home within a year as soon as he had to hand his license in because they lost
Yep.
contact with the world, essentially. Yeah.
Very
So
good
I think
Precisely.
point.
that's a big medicine.
Yeah, and there are two significant events in most people's lives if they're fortunate enough to live long enough. The first very significant event is the gaining of freedom of gaining your driver's license, and that's a very special time. I think almost every one of us will remember the very first time we drove our car or drove a car with a P plate license, and that sense of freedom that you could just hop in the car and go literally wherever you wanted, unchaperoned. And that's a very special moment when you're, 17-ish. But then for a lot of people who hopefully live long enough, there's that devastating moment whereby, for whatever reason, you have to hand in your license or it's taken off you.
Mm.
And that's devastating because, like you say, it separates you from your community. You can no longer have that independence, and it can be very demoralizing and very sad. And like I said, we're going to be one of the first generations that it won't matter because you won't need a driver's license to be in a car that event in next, let's call it, couple of years, probably tops, will be able to legally drive you around regardless of you could be unconscious, it doesn't matter. Um, and that's a wonderful thing. It really is. It's going to save a lot of
Mm.
lives as far as people's mental health basically, and just their connection with society and their friends. It's going to make a big difference.
Mm. Absolutely. So I'm looking forward to it, maybe as soon as it.
Fantastic. So 12th of May. And the good thing is you're going to be set up. Look, there's no urgency as far. I mean, you've got rallies that will clue you up with what to install in your house and what you need and what you don't need. The short answer is what you need on day one is nothing because you can always go to a local supercharger, depending on where you are, or a local DC charger, and you can always just go to the Tesla shop, buy the mobile connector, which is I think that's about seven. No, it's
It's
about 500-ish.
550. I got
Yes,
it already.
perfect,
That's yeah.
fantastic. So that with that you can just plug into a 10 amp standard outlet, and look, for most people that drive about 38 kilometers per day on average, you'll get that back in a few hours. If you're doing a few more Ks, you just plug it in overnight and it'll be fine. You'll gain over 150 Ks a night at least. And then you can always, depending on your situation, you could upgrade to the mobile connector, which an electrician installs at your house. Any electrician, by the way, not a Tesla certified one, just any electrician. It'll work on a single phase or three phase house, and you'll get between 50 and 75 kilometers of range added per hour on that higher power installation.
Any electrician, but preferably one that's already installed one before, just so he knows what he's doing
Yeah.
roughly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it doesn't
Yeah.
need to be on Tesla's website. There is a list of accredited electricians, and not to besmirch any of them, they've all obviously had to work hard to do that. Sometimes when you have a list of accredited businesses of any kind, there is a tendency for them not to be the best value for money, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I do.
So
I was rather impressed because on that list is the company that actually installed my solar here and my battery when I had the house built. So I rang them up, and the guy that installed it rang me back. And the interesting thing is that he turned around and said, "Look, nah, Kath, I've got your stats. I know what we put on your roof, everything else." And he went, "You work from home, don't you?" And I went, "Yeah, like I do." And he went, "Don't. It'll just get the mobile connector, use that, do that for 3 months, 6 months, and if it's not enough and you find you've got troubles, then call us back. We'll install it for you." He says, "I don't think you're going to have any trouble, though. I don't want to sell you something that I don't think you're going to need." So I'll give him credit that he actually came out and said that, because if he was dishonest, he'd just go, "Oh, yeah, we'll book you right in. What date do you want us there?" And so that was
If you're charging, if you're working from home, you've got solar, you've got all day to dribble 2.5 kilowatts into your car, which is less than half of the capacity of your inverter and your solar. So, except for the depths of winter where nothing, it doesn't count. In summer, you'll have so much surplus energy, it won't be funny, and you'll be basically charging your car for free, effectively, almost all year round. So that's fantastic. Okay, I don't know whose hands were up first, either James or John. If you can please work out who that was.
Okay, I'm first. There we go.
Go, James.
Just on that topic, for Kath, because the smarts is in the Tesla will manage the charge on solar. So if you've got battery and solar, it doesn't matter what charger you use. You plug in UMC. There's a little switch in the setting to set that to charge on solar, and it will only charge when you've got excess solar. So if you're sitting there all day, that should work for you. And the other thing is while you talking about charging cables and cords, there was a Pete is doing a trip across the Nullarbor and then up north, and he has contacted Harold for a charging cable. But it might be a good time to talk about other new people who might need to buy or use a Type 2, who might need to buy and use a phase 3, 3-phase. They're very rarely needed in Perth, but Pete's travelling across the Nullarbor and then sounds like he's in North Alice Springs. So he might be the edge case that does need a Type 2 and does need a 3-phase charging cable, unlike Kath, who can survive easily on a UMC.
Yeah, so happily, the need for a Clipsal type 5-pin 3-phase adapter, which is basically a small portable charger that can pass through 3-phase from a standard socket. Thankfully, on most routes around Australia, there really aren't many operational 3-phase sockets remaining. Across the Nullarbor, it used to be the only way you could charge your car. Actually, that wasn't quite true. Before then, it was literally just 10 or 15 amp outlets, single phase. So, Pete, if you're going to Alice Springs, pretty much you'll get to Port Augusta without needing 3-phase at any location. and James, do correct me if I'm wrong. I think I'm basically right about that. You should bring with you a Type 2 to Type 2 cable, which you can, excuse me, you can actually get at Bunnings of all places for for less than $250. You can get a 7.5 meter long 22 kilowatt Type 2 to Type 2 cable, which is a good spare to use where you go to the WAV network and for whatever reason the DC charger isn't working, you'll be able to use that cable. But basically from Perth to Port Augusta, where there is a supercharger, there really is no type three-phase outlet that you need to use that hasn't already got something else connected to it. As you go up, sadly, one little thing is do try and aim to overnight at Cooper Pedy, because unfortunately the RAA Chempower fast DC charger has been vandalized and is not operational. So it's best to use the Tesla destination charger at the something desert motel in you'll see it on PlugShare. Uh, Desert Desert Cave Motel, I think it is in Cooper Pedy. So Cameron, you were just garbled then. I just heard some noise there. Were you saying something? No, maybe not. Okay, so and then north you've got Marla, which has you'll need a Type 2 to Type 2 cable for that, definitely. So you cannot leave Perth without one. Make sure you either borrow one or better still buy one, because they're always useful. And then you'll get to El Dunda, where the NRMA charger may or may not work anyway, and also at Yalara itself. So at the actually, the NRMA have installed an unreliable solar powered charger at the Ayers Rock Shell, I think it is, or Shell Ayers Rock. So that's the main story for going to that part of the country. You basically don't need a three-phase adapter per se, and depending on when you're leaving, we might be very tight on them at the moment because we're waiting for another one to come back. But we'll see how we go. But yeah, Pete, do give me a buzz. I think you might already have my number, and if you don't, I'll put it in the. Actually, James, can you please put it in the chat?
Yep.
Just to everyone. That'll be awesome.
I'm definitely
John.
taking a UM.
Oh, sorry, Shane.
I'd still definitely be taking a UMC with a couple of heads on it. Just
Oh,
as
yes.
a-
Oh, goes without saying. Yeah. So it literally goes without saying that for anyone doing a long road trip, do take a UMC or the mobile connector, which has got a 10 and a 15 amp plug on it. They're interchangeable. Because then at least no matter what happens, you can always go to a caravan park and plug into a powered site or something similar. And yes, it will take you a very long time to fill up your battery, but it will do it relentlessly and reliably and get you out of any trouble that you might have inadvertently gotten yourself into should something unexpected happen. Yeah, very
Harold.
good point, Shane. Steve.
Is it also worthwhile taking out an extension cord, because sometimes the angle of the pins with the
Yes.
caravan socket can be a little bit hard to fit? So
Yeah,
the shortest
indeed.
extension cord you can get.
Yes, and make sure you get the heavy duty one if you invariably go to Bunnings, because
Steve, for that, can I just interrupt? I recommend not
Yep.
extension cord, one of the little orange 4 boxes that are 15 amp. They also come with their own little breaker. Use them on site. I'll put a link in. It's
Yeah,
very
yep.
short. It's only literally a meter long, so it tends to sit very nicely at the base and plug in, so you're not having 20 meters of unnecessary extension cord getting hot,
Um,
and it's
now,
got its own little flick switch in case it draws too much.
and something you should also do if is always useful actually for many, many things. And sadly, James had to use it for one of the less pleasurable purposes is, and I'm not spruiking Bunnings, go to Mitre 10 or wherever you can go, or Bunnings, and get a roll of basically gaffer, well, slash cloth tape. And I mean, I prefer the white one because it looks nicer. Although, be careful, it's very sticky. So when you stick things on it, it gets sticky. And the pro tip there is snip off a piece, or you tear it with your fingers, and use it to suck up all of the adhesive that it deposits on whatever it is that you stuck it on. If you've left it there for a bit of cloth tape or gaffer tape is really useful because all of these K-Max, when you plug them in, I mean, I get the reason. It's so that any rain just drips off and doesn't get into the system. You always push your plug upwards. It's always sort of liable to be pulled out by gravity. So depending on what you've got, an extension cord or this 1 meter thingy, just get some gaffer tape with you, or have some with you, or cloth tape, so you can just temporarily tape it up and make sure it doesn't fall out, because the most devastating thing that can happen, and that didn't quite happen to me, it was something a bit worse actually, was a 3-phase thing that I woke up in the morning thinking I had a full charge overnight, realizing that no, I didn't, because it wasn't actually plugged in. And that can be quite devastating because you've just then wasted 10 hours of charging that otherwise would have happened. So that's another pro tip, is definitely a short length of some sort of cable, because the Tesla mobile connector has this weird 45-degree angle offset from the pins, and it's not really a rear cable entry, it's a side entry. And yeah, as James said, it's not always compatible with some of these PowerPoints or situations. Alrighty, John, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, back in February, we had to resolve the conflict at home who was going to take the Model Y versus the ICE vehicle, and we've had to address that. Now we've got 2 Ys. Anyway, collecting that on the 26th of Feb from O'Connor, it was actually doing a software update when we arrived. It actually had an older revision, and later that day it finished the software update when I connected it at Wi-Fi at home, and FSD was running that day. So hopefully you might have that success. Kath?
And I must admit, I know someone in the room that is very keen on having FSD work as soon as this gentleman collects his car so that he can go for a trip. But he's just not going to know until he picks up his car. So we'll just have to see. Speaking of which, also it's a good time, Pete. Let's let you put us out of our misery. Well, I'll admit that my car, Kath said it's the 12th of May. Mine's on the 7th. When's your slot, Pete?
Not happy. 26th of May. But
Okay.
I waited. I figured I waited 6 years for my first Tesla. What's another few weeks? But yeah, my heart dropped when I saw the first available delivery date. As soon as I had my phone in my hand when the text came, and literally did it right there and then, and that was the first available one, unfortunately. But yeah. So
Yeah. So just to explain, let me try and press that button. And it works very, very slowly on this computer. But basically, there are 600, I'm just scrolling, there we go, 642 Teslas on this ship. And I'll just scroll all the VIN numbers all the way up to the top. And basically, at Fremantle ports, they were deposited in two big lumps. So there's like you just imagine there's whole lines of cars and there's 642 of them. And of course, Tesla has no idea whatsoever when those cars were first loaded on the ship, which part of the ship they were loaded on, and in which order they'll be unloaded. And then what basically happens is as many cars as possible will be taken directly to the O'Connor site, which is actually relatively close to Fremantle Port. And there'll be literally as many as possible, whatever that number is. Let's call it, I don't know, a couple of hundred or maybe more. Then all the remainders will go to a storage site, open storage site in Hazelmere. So what happened was I had a look at the Fremantle Port cameras, and a mate of mine, Jason, had told me where the two lumps of cars were, and I lined it up with where the cameras said, and you could see there were trucks loading up cars, taking them out of the port area. So what would have happened is they would have identified a lump of cars that they were taking and maybe scanned a barcode or something. Tesla would have got that information and said, right, these are the first rump of deliveries starting from the 7th of May, which I believe is the first date. And it just so happens that a mate of mine got the same date, and no doubt many others as well. But after that first lump, that Tesla then knows that all the rest go to Hazelmere, and then it's probably a bit more flexible as far as what they can pick out. So unfortunately, there were probably two sets of people, myself and a few others, including Kath, who's on the 12th. So that's Kath. Is that Monday, Tuesday? My maths is bad. Tuesday, something like that. I think the 12th of May must be
Yeah, that's a Tuesday.
Tuesday. Okay, so I mean, really, they're starting deliveries on the Thursday. You've got Friday, Saturday, and then you've got Monday, Tuesday. So it's a pretty early sort of thing. So, Kath, I dare say your car was probably in that lump that were being collected by trucks today. And then, unfortunately, Pete, you've just got the rougher end of that pineapple, which is late. But having said that, there's someone I know who wants to go on a long road trip who will not do that unless and until there is FSD on this new car. And it's plausible that possible that might not happen until after you get your car. So sometimes the tortoise is faster than the hare.
Or the alternative is you could be back from your trip before I get my car. That could happen as well.
That is possible. It's possible.
It's not impossible.
It's not impossible. It's also possible that I could need the gaffer tape that I'm going to bring with me, because sadly we know someone else in the room that needed that gaffer tape. And speaking of which, how is your bumper going, James?
I'm waiting for a insurance assessor because they weren't happy with the Tesla's assessment. So that's pushing everything back.
Of course it is.
If you put a photo on, it's obviously just bolt on a new bumper bar. Simple job, buy a bumper bar, bolt it on. There's no bodywork as such, but the insurance company didn't accept Tesla's quotation and they want to get in their own opinion.
Well, good on them. It's not as if the manufacturer wouldn't know best, eh? And I did have a chat with the head of Tesla's body shop, and this was one of the laments: is Tesla actively short invoice. If they performed less work than was quoted, they actively give the insurer the discount. Whereas I'm certain that many old-fashioned body shops strictly adhere to the quote, and if they have to do a little bit less, which means the price is less, they simply just go, well, we're just going to pocket that because maybe we might get screwed some other time by an insurer. and it's kind of knock for knock. Whereas Tesla actively, often, and regularly hand over discounts and say, no, it was actually, they actually short invoice for the actual work they needed to do, and often save the insurers money. But in spite of that, some insurers are rather belligerent and just make it hard for the hapless customer of that insurance that has to, just like in your case, James, wait. And wouldn't it be ironic if after all that waiting, the end result is you get it done at Tesla anyway, and all that was lost was your time in having to wait to get the same thing done.
Yeah, because Tesla won't do the work unless they have 7 days prior the go ahead. So that window is rapidly closing by the middle of next week, which means they'll have to go back to be rescheduled in about another 4 weeks' time. Luckily, it's only got one. I put a lot of gaffer tape on it during the trip because you're driving over bumpy
It's not
roads. But
flapping.
right now, it's just got one small piece of gaffer tape. That's all it actually needs, because I've
Yes.
put all the clips back in.
Frustrating. Mike, you got your hand up.
Yes, I happened to be loitering at Aussie Park Tesla today, and chatting while I was chatting to the service, but I went while I was waiting to chat to the sales guys, and one of them just happened to say that this 600. I said, "You guys are going to be busy," and he said, "No, not us, O'Connor." I said, "Oh yes, of course." And then he said, basically, almost all of this shipment is allotted. That was his words, almost all. So I'm guessing probably 10% or less is not allotted.
Less, much less, Mike. If anyone wants to have a look at Tesla's inventory website,
four vehicles.
Yes, but Paul, are any of those a Performance Y, which comes from Germany?
Yeah, one was a Performance Y, I think. Performance. There was a three. And the other two, there was actually two X's, but they're over East, so I don't count them. A three, actually.
No. So how many Model Ys are available in Perth as an inventory?
One.
So there's a Performance Y and a Performance 3 in Perth as a new inventory.
Yes.
Right. So
And
what
there's
that means, Mike, is that out of the 642 Teslas, there's a mixture of 3s and Ys. There are no Ys that haven't already been sold on that ship.
Yeah, I'd imagine so. Those two items have been there all week and long, because I check every day just to see what's there, just because I'm mainly retentive like that. So, and those two performance vehicles, obviously, the Model Y performance is a chunk of money for a lot of people.
Yes.
Compared with the standard Y, so they won't sell as quickly.
No, and bearing in mind that Y is not part of this shipment, because this ship is from Shanghai, which only has rear-wheel drive and all-wheel drive non-performance Model Ys on it. And the Performance Model 3 may or may not be an overhang of this shipment. It may or may not be.
Yeah.
So how was Osborne Park in the otherwise busy with people, or did you?
I was there for about an hour because I was stuffing around with this fault well, I won't say fault, but this idiosyncrasy I've got on my left-hand cameras on my car, and they're just trying to figure out what's going on because it does seem odd. Anyway, so I was there for about an hour. Nobody came to charge in the supercharger. I went, what's going on? And he said, it's usually busy, which is quite odd. I thought there's all these lovely shiny new chargers there and nobody's using them.
Yeah, it's a random process, and I think Osborne Park hasn't quite been discovered yet. Kings Park gets a lot of use. Often, if you look on the map or on the charger map, you'll see that Kings Park often has. I've seen it with 2 or 3 stalls available, and Osborne Park's had something like 7 out of 8. So, yeah, I think Osborne Park's a bit of a secret at the moment.
Kings Park was a bit like that at the beginning too, and then once people discovered it, as you say. Now sometimes you got to wait. So because all
Yeah.
There was nothing available at Kings Park at 11:30 this morning. It was all taken up.
not uncommon these days.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely, Damo. It's that's the sort of thing that happens. Another little snippet. So I happened to go down south for the long weekend, and then predictably, Kojonup and Williams charges were quite busy on the Monday, let's call it afternoon. And apparently, according to one of my mates who was talking to someone at Tesla, Tesla are very much aware of it, and there are moves afoot to augment the supercharger network. And this has been touted as a year of capital expenditure. So, for example, Tesla did declare at the last Thursday's earnings call that they would be spending $25 billion of capital expenditure this year, bearing in mind that they'd only spent about $2.5 billion in Q1, which means they're going to spend, let's call it $22.5 billion for the next 3 quarters, which is roughly $7 billion a quarter.
To put that into perspective, they hold roughly about 45 billion in cash. So that's
Exactly.
more than half their cash holdings.
Yes. So
Yeah,
there was
but that's-
some free cash flow in spite of spending 2.5 billion, let's call it, or was it 2.7? I can't remember. There was some residual positive cash flow. So if you call Tesla's cash generation ability, I'm just guessing mental maths, 3.5 billion a quarter or something like that, or maybe a bit more. It's not at all. It pales into insignificance compared to what your Metas, your Amazons, your Microsofts, your OpenAIs, and other let's call them AI companies these days, your Nvidias are spending on market cap. Tesla is famously very frugal. It wrings out a lot of value out of the capital that it invests in plant and equipment and other things. But yeah, it was good to hear, and yeah,
So
make
they
no
had-
mistake. Yep.
Sorry.
I was
So
going to say,
no,
make no mistake that that Tesla is intent on spending money wisely into for things that will bear fruit in the future, and one of those things is superchargers, because with the influx of non-Tesla EVs, for example, when I was at Williams, there was a Geely something charging at the Woolshed, and at Kojonup, I saw another similar non-Tesla EV charging as well as an MG whatever charging on the WV network. So EVs are really becoming a thing, and Tesla is acutely aware of it and are intent on investing and augmenting the network. And yeah, sorry, Pete, you go on with your point.
No, I was just going to say, in terms of the free cash flow, I just looked it up, 1.4 billion last quarter. So yeah, about 6 billion a year.
So 4 billion a quarter, I think, in actual, let's call it cash flow, and then they spend about 2.5 of it in capex. So yeah, that's about so they can generate about 20 billion a year.
Yeah.
So let's just say roughly
Yeah.
they're burning twice their earning rate, which is completely fine, because the funny thing is, when you looked at the Tesla share price, as soon as they launched the earnings deck, everything was going really well because they beat on expectations on free cash flow and a few other metrics. I think also on margins. Profit margin on cars. I think it went up from about 17% to roughly 19 point something percent, which was a surprise in a challenging environment. But when the earnings call was actually held itself, then the share price slid, for many various reasons. But a lot of it is, if a startup is burning a lot of cash, the more cash they burn, the higher the share price is deemed to need to be. When Tesla dares to burn a very modest amount of cash, it suddenly becomes an analyst's problem and they don't like it, which is a bit weird because, like I said, the Magnificent Seven are burning hundreds of billions of dollars a quarter on capex. I think cumulatively it's well beyond it's trillions of dollars in capex this financial year, this calendar year. Sorry. So Tesla's measly 25 billion for the whole year is nothing. Is literally nothing.
And a lot of them don't. They all sort of think like a zero sum thing as well. It's sort of like they don't realize that Tesla's still making money. And they said
Yeah.
in the earnings call they'll put on like another 1,000 people in Berlin so they can, put another shift on for the Model Ys.
20% increase in production.
20%.
Yep.
But they're also going to be doing their batteries as well. So their margins
Exactly.
are going to go down. They're a bunch of morons. They really are. So
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
that's good to just not financial advice. Buy. I did. I bought
That's
and
right.
sold.
Yeah,
It's a bit bipolar.
Yeah, that's right. There's nothing wrong with Tesla shares being on sale. It's a good buying opportunity. And you don't have to sell them, kids. You don't ever crystallize a loss if you don't sell your shares.
Exactly.
Again, not financial advice.
Just quickly, in terms of the capacity at Berlin versus Shanghai. So Shanghai, I can't remember.
Officially, they say 950,000, but their run rate's over a mil.
I was talking about the percentage of its capacity. I think it's like over 95%.
Yeah, it's quite high.
Yeah, so it's and with the Model Y L being opened to new markets now,
Yep.
I think it's going to start operating at close to 100% of its capacity, which means it's at capacity. So, and as the order timeframes extend out, well, there's only one thing, something's got to give, and that's the price. So I think, wouldn't be surprised if, especially the Model Y L, starts to go up in price in the not too distant future. So maybe in a month or two. Yeah.
Elon Musk did say during COVID times that Tesla was getting embarrassingly high
lag times.
Yeah. No, embarrassingly high sales prices for their cars. The profit margins were embarrassingly high. So speaking to the popularity of the Model Y L, and I'm just going to bring it up. The projected deliveries for the YL now is August, September, if you order one today on the website. So I'm just going to bring that up so you can actually see if that button worked. No, did it not? We'll try again. There we go. So the Model YL, it's slated delivery. So the Model Y Premium was July, August. And if I keep clicking on this webpage, it'll eventually change over. That's not Tesla's fault. That's my computer. Is August, September for the YL, Model YL. And the performance and all the other cars are, I think, July, August. If we can get that to, July, August for your performance, and for the all-wheel drive, July, August, and for the standard range rear-wheel drive, July, August. But the YL is notably different at August, September. So that's really great evidence that the YL in particular is a very popular model at the moment. Alrighty. Anyone got any other questions or comments?
I ask a question about solar charging?
Nope. Yes, of course. Go, Mike.
I know it's been covered heaps of times, but it always confuses me because the conversation jumps a bit. So, in a simple thing, so I've got nothing other than a UMC at the moment. So, if I was and I don't want to put a battery in unless I have to,
Yep.
I'm just not interested. The payback isn't sufficient for us. But because a solar on its own is a relatively low cost, I've got a bit of money left over from the car fund. So I thought I could put in a few kilowatts. So after I've got a solar panel, how do I charge my Tesla from that solar panel? What do I actually need?
There's the simplest method. So
Yep.
so actually, by the way, is as of I think it's the end of this week. I think it's the end of this week, or let's call it the next coming days. All new solar installations are under new rules, which means you can actually have much larger systems.
Yeah.
So sadly, up until almost now, Western Power have made it very difficult to get anything manifestly larger than roughly 5 kilowatts ish as a guaranteed standard installation. And then there's been various, you can get bigger, but you've got to apply for it, and they've got the right to say no, and you've got all these hoops and all that sort of stuff. They've now changed the rules, provided you now you comply with even more stringent requirements of the government being able to control your solar inverter. But basically, you can now have up to 30 kilowatts of inverter easily on most houses. So anyway, you can just buy whatever solar system you can afford, or you deemed you can afford. The great thing about using a mobile connector is it will draw 2.5 kilowatts maximum. Oh, well, sorry, you could also go for a 15 amp dedicated power point that an electrician installs on a single circuit, which I'm pretty sure that's the rules for a 15 amp outlet. So you could draw
how
as
does it get the solar panel to the
right.
UMC?
No, so well, it doesn't. So in effect, your inverter just makes just converts whatever energy it receives on the panels and converts it to AC in its simplest form. That AC then quasi uncontrollably just gets generated and goes to wherever it's being absorbed, which is either just your house because you've got lots of things turned on, in which case, rather than importing a number of kilowatts from the grid to supply the various appliances you've got turned on in your house, that energy will simply flow from your solar inverter mostly to those appliances, and then maybe some will come from the grid, or if there's happily a surplus, some of that surplus energy that your inverter is generating will go to the grid. And it does it literally as the same way as water flows downhill. It just does its thing automatically in its simplest system, which is what you can basically get from an installer. Now, what that obviously means is in summer, it's all happy days because your solar panels will be flatlining, depending. You'll be making all this surplus energy. Your car can just absorb 2.5 kilowatts, or roughly 3.3 if you've got the 15 amp circuit, and your car will absorb probably less than the surplus that your house has. So it's literally free energy. So it'll cost you literally nothing less the capital cost and depreciated cost of your system. In winter, of course, most of that doesn't really work because in the depths of winter on a really dreary day, you can get much less than 10% of the nameplate capacity of your solar system. But as we know, you're a retired gentleman, Mike, so you can afford to have your car sitting, day in, day out, slowly sipping on whatever's surplus or whatever. So that's how it basically works, and that's how it works.
Okay.
Without a battery and without a what's called a grid meter or a input output meter.
Yeah.
So there's a more advanced version such as if you have a Powerwall, which costs a fair bit. That's a battery storage. Powerwall 3 is basically like a solar inverter and installed battery and integral battery storage. And there's more a controlled system whereby it can actually make your car wait, and if you set it this way, only dribble into your car what is literally surplus, which again in summer is tons and in winter is probably nothing. In which case you've got to have a default setting that says, regardless of that, I want my battery to be at least X%, regardless of the source, including the grid.
That's all good. Thanks, Harold. That just cleared it because I just had a mental block in my mind, because in my mind I don't want it connected to the grid. I just want it connected to my house, right? Or potentially just the car. Actually,
Yeah, that's yeah. I mean, look,
because the reason is our roof is a really wiggly roof, so I actually haven't got much room for solar panels anyway. So it'd be
Yep.
it's almost like, I think it's just over the minimum one the guys tend to do, from what I can, I've physically got on Google satellite and put them on there, and I get about 12 on there or something, right?
12 panels.
Yes.
Yeah, well, it depends. I mean, panels, it depends on the size. The larger panels are roughly 500 watt panels, but they're 2 meters by 1 meter. Sometimes that can be counterproductive, because if you've got a jigsaw puzzle of a roof, which many people have, sometimes smaller panels, smaller physical panels, are better because you can tessellate them better.
Yeah, I think these were the 400 watt ones that I got the dimensions of and put on there.
Yep.
And because I've got, the typical, what do you call it, the end gable part of the roof, that triangle shape, and that's the only bit that actually faces north. The rest of them are east and west.
Actually, east and west is not terrible, because
No, it's not terrible.
many inverters have multiple inputs. They're called MPPT inputs, maximum power point trackers. And it's actually can be quite handy to have east facing and west facing. In fact, the Australian Productivity Commission has actually done a report years ago, actually recommending that, I mean, if you want to do what's best for the grid, what's best is to have a lot of west facing panels, so you get the last catch of the sun going down, which then helps with the duct curve.
Tea time,
Yeah,
and
so
everybody's sucking it off
yeah,
the system.
exactly. But that's the Productivity Commission, whose job is to do what's in the national interest, or promote what's in the national interest, not necessarily what's in your personal interest. But actually, east-west is not so bad. So, yes, like
That's how I
for
get
example,
to
at
work.
lunchtime it'll be great, and in the morning it'll be great on one side, in the evening it'll be great on the other. On average, it's kind of good, and solar panels are cheap, but roof space is expensive. If
And
you
we
know what I
don't
mean,
use
you
much
can't.
Tesla, so I guess it's okay if that extra, in summer does go into the house, because we're retired, so we're all at home watching
Yep.
the telly or mucking around on the computer or whatever. So that'd be useful. And I've got an 82 kilowatt battery. It's just on wheels. That's the problem.
Yes, and that's another story, but
It is.
that story will evolve over the years, but it'll evolve quite slowly, and it won't be cheap, unfortunately, frustratingly.
Interesting enough, an old friend of mine, he's the one saying an old friend, he is old too. He's got his hands on an old Model S battery, and he's getting that put into his house as his battery.
Yes, yes, there's someone I know in Perth that gets a lot of wrecked Teslas and is selling old Model 3 and Y batteries, roughly 50, 60 kilowatt hours, for $5,000 each. And that includes a little module that will make it talk to a solar inverter, a hybrid inverter.
Yes.
Now, as far as the legalities of that, strictly complying with AS XYZ,
Yeah.
that's a different matter. But yes, a Tesla's battery is just a 400 volt class battery. It's nothing special about it.
Leaving Tesla's shop today, I did see I had a Model S in front of me. I presume they were all dual motor, were they back then?
Nope.
All
No.
right. Well, this was a nice grey dual motor, and it really is the car I wanted. They look so good, the Model S.
Yes, I do. Yep, indeed. But they are no longer being made, so
I know.
it's all
Yeah.
over.
Yep.
Paul, you got your hand up.
Yeah. On a slightly different note, I just was very excited that Tesla finally started production on the Cybercab this week. So finally starting
Good,
to see them rolled out. So
good
hopefully they
point. So
roll
this
them out
is
soon.
so this is the official start of production, which is not
Yep.
when they start making cars. It's when they actually, and Jeff Lutz, who is a multi-decade logistics manager, and he's done logistics for smartphones, and that's really a world of pain. He's got a lot of experience. He very carefully explained that start of production, it's not even really an event, but it's a transition to initially they will do release candidates, they do prototypes, release candidates,
Yeah,
then
we've done that.
they run exactly, and then they run the line in sort of fits and farts and do sort of little batches. But start of production is when they're confident enough to actually run the line for an extended period, which is usually just a few hours at first, at a reasonable rate, and then they'll stop and they'll rehash things and tweak things and whatever. But it's really like this transition to what becomes proper production. It can still be very slow on average, but they do transition to actually getting it to flex its muscles and test their systems. And you're right, Paul. That really is an accomplishment that should be celebrated because the funny thing is, and the S curve, as Elon Musk always explains, and an S curve is in the figure of an S. It starts low at first and has almost no growth whatsoever, goes into a bit of an exponential phase, and then sort of goes into like a linear bit, and then goes into what do you call it? A logarithmic sort of tail where it flattens out once you're at absolute full production. And there's no way of predicting with any precision when that's going to happen. So a few months can make orders of magnitude difference in production rate, but it doesn't matter because by the end of the year they'll be slamming them out. And people say, "Oh, well, Tesla's well behind of Waymo because Waymo has 3,000 robo taxis and Tesla has hundreds of them." Well, as Jeff Lutz very, very well explained, by Q4 or even Q3 has actually said, I think it's in less than a week they'll produce more than Waymo has ever had in all of history in less than a week. So
because I think the line said, I think it's a million line or something of a cab. So.
Oh yes, in Texas. Yes, in Houston.
Yeah, in Texas.
In Austin. Yes,
Austin.
Indeed. Yes. So at full speed, they'll be pumping out a robo taxi every 10 or 20 seconds, very quickly, and it's a classic tortoise and hare. Tesla's a tortoise. It hasn't even started. It's barely started, but it will absolutely beat Waymo. It'll pants Waymo to be of orders of magnitude in second place on sheer numbers. Alrighty, we got PMO hand up.
Hello. First time joining the meeting.
Welcome.
I just got my delivery date on my Tesla today for the
Yes.
29th of May, and that just happened to coincide with exactly the day that me and my wife are going down south to Margaret River, like on the very afternoon that we were planning to go. And I'm wondering, for people that have already gone through this journey, is it really even wise to having a new car, being unfamiliar with it, and going full ham on a long road trip immediately, or perhaps?
Well, yes. So where are you going down to?
Just
Just Margaret River.
Yeah, it'll be Perth to Margaret River. We've heard that it doesn't necessarily come fully charged as well.
Okay. So I can allay all your fears. What you will do when you get, and congratulations on getting your car. Pete, you got to feel better because that's 2 days before you're going to get your car. So what are you whinging about? Seriously, Pete?
I
Um,
don't. If someone's got more pain than me, that doesn't make me feel better. It just makes me feel worse for them.
so for your car, I absolutely, okay. What you'll do is you'll hop in your car and look, feel free to come back to another session of Ask Us Anything, but you'll hop in your car. You might have a few questions. By all means, ask the people there to do things like show you how to hook up your Bluetooth for your phone so that whoever's driving the car can answer phone calls without, hands-free or whatever.
Yeah.
Set up the car the way that you want it set up. Do have a good look at it. Bear in mind that there is a grace period, so don't feel under pressure to find every last scratch or whatever. Not that anyone's expecting there to be any scratches, but, just in case. But don't feel that, if you find something 1 or 2 days later, they will sort it out on the rare circumstance that you might find something. But once you're happy with your car, you can absolutely just sit in your car, go, I want to go to Margaret River, and just go navigate. The car will then tell you either. Now, did you get a standard range car, a rear-wheel drive car, or an all-wheel drive Tesla?
We've just got the standard rear wheel drive.
And
Model
is that a
Y.
Model Y or a Model 3?
Model Y.
Model Y. Okay, so depending on what it's charged up to, I mean, the guys at Tesla, the guys and girls at Tesla are pretty good at charging the cars up. But let's just say, worst case, somehow you got a car that was, I don't know, 50% charged. All you do is you enter in the address of where you want to go in Margaret River and hit go. And then you start driving. And then within a few seconds, the car will plot out the route and it will tell you where you need to charge. And the answer to that will either be Bunbury or Eton, Bustleton, or Margaret River. It'll just depend. If your car's at 100%, it'll probably go, well, you're going to get to Margaret River with 30%, so there you go, job done. And then you can just go to the Woolworths at
The
Village
Village.
Green, I think it's called. The
Just the
Village.
village.
The Village in Margaret River,
Yeah.
and charge at the supercharger there. Alternatively, it may say, hey, go to the supercharger at Bustleton, or it may say, go to the supercharger at Eton. Now, just one little pro tip, because you'll be going to Margaret River from Perth, you'll be going down the Forest Highway. Just be aware that the mapping data, the navigation data, probably won't be up to date, and there is that issue. If it sends you straight to Bustleton, it might be helpful just initially to get off, even though the car says go straight down the Forest Highway, I think it's still called there. You need to sort of basically go left to do the Bunbury Ring Road, which the navigation won't quite know about. That's just one little tiny wrinkle, so you or your partner can just sort that out on a phone or something like that. But yeah, the car will absolutely tell you where it recommends or where it says you should charge. So please, absolutely, on the first day you get your awesome car, take it for a great trip and let it stretch its legs. It's the best thing you can do. And the car will look after you because it knows what it needs to do.
Okay. That's
Make sure you have your credit card in the app.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Great tip, James. So yeah, do check that once you get your car, or maybe you can actually do that.
Yeah, before.
Actually, you've got your Tesla account already, or you should have.
Yeah.
Yeah, you will have had your Tesla account because you got your delivery date. Just make sure you add your credit card in so that you can get supercharging done instantly. You don't have to mess around with the app or anything like that.
Yeah. Sounds like a good tip there.
And if you've got any doubts or any questions or whatever, you can ring Tokwa's helpline on 6262 3131.
Okay.
So I'll just repeat that: 62623131, and we can help you out or allay any concerns. But the
Yeah,
car
we
is
all-
awesome enough; it knows what to do. It'll never get you into trouble. And yeah, Margaret River, you're gonna have a great time.
We do have full self-driving for the first 3 months because we used a referral code as well.
Yes, so I'm not sure if you were here before. We just don't know at this stage if it'll be literally available on the day that you get your car. We just don't know that. Hopefully it will, but if not, it'll just be autopilot, or you can just do some manual driving, whichever way you prefer. But yeah, so I do presume if for whatever reason the car needs a software update to get FSD, I presume the 3-month free period will start once you actually get to use it, as opposed to 3 months from the date you get your car.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, if you've got your car, this goes to anyone who's new. It's always a good idea to purchase a mobile connector. I know they're $550, but they are very useful because regardless of wherever else you go, or even at home, you can just plug it into a 10 amp power point, and recharge your car, say, from home. So that's always a good thing to get. You can get, if you haven't already ordered one, you can just go into your Tesla app. I think it's in accessories or something like that. You can just go into the Tesla shop through the app and just order it.
I think it's in the charging tab.
Let's not guess and just do a quick check. So if you go in your car, actually, I'll do it in the car that I don't have yet. No, that won't do it.
I think there was
that's
like
the thing.
a $550.
Yes, that's the
charger.
one.
Yeah,
Yep,
we got that
yep.
one. Yeah.
Yep. Oh, you have got that one?
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. That's all you need initially. Worst case, that's all you need. And you can use that at home as well until you settle down and work out what your usage patterns are.
Yeah, that was our plan. So we don't know what our usage patterns and stuff are going to be like. So we're just going to wait and see before installing any permanent infrastructure.
Yep. But if you ever get to the stage where you go, oh, gee, I really wish, we got back from a long trip and I really wish I could jam the power in a bit quicker, do yourself a favor, and once you've worked out that's a good thing to have, just spend the $1,500 or whatever it is total cost, and move on. Because when you compare the cost of electricity, even at the maximum retail price of 32 cents per kilowatt hour or 31 cents per kilowatt hour, it's vastly cheaper than any fuel vehicle you've ever driven. To the tune of, it's at least it's cheaper than a quarter of the price of petrol equivalent from home, charging on the maximum standard tariff that Synergy will charge you. So, it is worth investing, and you've paid $50,000-$60,000 for a car. It is absolutely worth it, depending on your use, to just put another $1,500, particularly if you own your house. It can be different if you're renting, and make life a bit smoother.
Yeah.
The other thing I've got to say, that this is the first Tesla in the family. I do dare say there will be a time in the not too distant future where you'll go, life's too short, let's just go another one. And that might not seem so likely today, but as the weeks go by and you use the car, it's gonna be almost a dead set cert. There are a lot of people in this room that have started with one and they've progressed, and many of their family members and extended family now have Teslas, or at least have EVs.
And there's a lot of people that swore they would never buy a Tesla that now own two, or in Kath's family's case, as we found out today, own four.
Well, that's pretty close to where I was at with regards to just one, but my wife
Yeah.
just overruled me.
Oh, so your wife was the decision maker in buying the Tesla.
Well,
Well, you know,
it's kind of her car. Well, we'll see how we go if I actually use my car
see,
again.
Oh no,
you know what? I feel sorry for your wife because you
just never
have
get in the
you
car.
have gone, oh yes, honey, it'll be your car, blah blah blah. Suddenly you're going to go, wow, this thing's really awesome. Now, as a wise man, I do humbly advise you, as soon as you possibly can, just get yourself a Tesla, and a happy wife is a happy life, and yeah, you're just going to work out very quickly, except for, I don't know if you've listened to us or anything before, except for some very long road trips and very specific circumstances where you might have to wait a little bit longer to charge your car on a very long remote road trip. As a daily user, just imagine never having to go to a petrol station ever again. In fact, if you buy yourself a battery-powered air compressor, you'll never have to go to a petrol station again, not even to fill your tires up. And
Yeah,
got to say, that's very enticing to wake up every morning knowing your car is basically full and not having to do Cheap Tuesday or whatever it is, and not having to deal with all that stuff.
yeah. One more question about
Yep.
us going down to Margaret River. It also does coincide with a long weekend, so just wondering what people's experiences are like charging on those in popular spots,
Okay.
kind
So,
of at halfway points on long
yep,
weekends.
good, very good point. So it is true. So last weekend the charges were fairly busy. The trick is just imagine what you would normally do. So say you're doing a long trip and halfway through that trip happens to coincide with lunchtime and it's kind of halfway between you and the destination. Well, you know that on average that's where most EV owners will target a charging session. So let's call that Busselton, say. I mean, depending on time of day.
Yeah.
Well, what you can do is you can deliberately go contra flow. So you can go, well, actually, here's a classic case. From Perth to Albany, it's 400 and something Ks. There are two superchargers in between. One at Williams, about 150 Ks from Perth, and one at Kojonup, another 120 Ks further down the road.
Yeah, we just came back from Albany today, actually. So very
Yep.
familiar with those two places.
Yep. So what most people would do from going, say we had a long weekend, we had Anzac Day long weekend, everyone drove down on Saturday, and in fact I drove back on, which I did, and drove back on Monday. So what most people would do is from Perth you'd leave fairly full, do a top up at Kojonup at lunchtime, and then go to Albany. And then on the reverse trip you would go Albany to Williams at the Woolshed, and then Perth. And you might coincide that with lunch at both directions. The contra idea is going down to Albany, top up at Williams, do it earlier. So maybe it's 10 o'clock in the morning or 9 o'clock, and do that top up to get you enough to get to Albany. And at Albany, by the way, the superchargers are one of the cheapest. They're only 37 cents per kilowatt hour all day, like 24/7. Very good deal. So you got to think about what will the average EV owner do? Well, I'll try and coincide it with lunch. And of course, that's when it will be busy. So if you bear that in mind, once you're a pro user, which won't take many weeks, then the trick is to go contra to what you think the crowd is doing. And then you'll have a better experience.
And another tip, since he's going to Margs, stop off at Eaton, because that's for Teslas only.
Yes.
Where Busselton's for all EVs. And, you know, if you rock up at Busselton and there's BYDs on there and they charge half the speed, even though Eaton's slightly slower, it'll be quicker.
Yep.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I was going to say.
Navigate to where you're going. So just so you can check on the map as you're going down anyway to see how many are at each of the sites.
Oh,
Not
okay.
mistaken? Am I mistaken in thinking as well that there's a busy graph on the Tesla charger map
That-
when you go and try and
that-
click on charges?
Yeah, when
There
you
sort of is, Ant, but it kind of shows a histogram, and it's normally a
click
normal
on it now.
distribution of what is the average. And then invariably, when you actually look at it at your time slot that you're interested in, it'll often show one that looks 4 times higher as in usage. So it can be a bit lumpy. It's a good point, Ant, but
it does. It is
most
good
people,
point.
yeah, most people on the Eastern Seaboard, they do whinge about, the Easter long weekend or the whatever, but they classically will do, like I described, they'll aim to get to a certain location and recharge at lunchtime, which is when everyone's doing it, because that's what people do. So doing a contra sort of thing, strategically charging either earlier than others would or at a later destination,
Yes.
or in many cases, actually Margaret River's only, it's 300 and something Ks. It's not a lot.
Go all the way
Like I
there.
said, if your car is full, you're going to make it non-stop, and you literally want to do a wee or whatever anyway. And that's where Eaton's actually good, because
Speak for
it's funny,
yourself,
you
I've
pl-
got a steel bladder, like most people.
Yeah. Well, you're an Uber driver, Ant, so you've got to. So you've developed that's right, a very flexible bladder with a steel plated valve. So it's just shut, and that'll do. But Eaton's actually a great spot, because even seasoned Tesla owners sort of shun it because it's only 125 kilowatts or 130 kilowatts. It's not the flashy 250 kilowatt maximum charger. It's kind of a little bit out of the way, because it's a couple of Ks south of the ring road, but worth the diversion. The great thing is when you plug in, it's about a 2-minute walk to the toilets, and in that time, and by the time
there's-
you've
no, Harold, you've got the ones at Hungry Jack's. They're literally
Oh, God,
5
no.
minutes, 5 meters away.
I've walked
Yeah,
in
that's the
there
whole
once and
reason for going to
never
Eaton.
again.
In fact,
Just
the
keep
only
walking down there. The nice, clean
Yeah.
toilets. Get a
That's
coffee
right. I just
from
go
the
to
coffee
Eaton.
shop.
I just go to Eaton Square, Eaton, whatever it's called, Eaton Fair, Pete,
Yep.
and in the time it takes, that might be 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes. You've got far more charge than you need to make it to Margs. Definitely.
Just a
Oh.
quick tip for people that aren't used to charging at Eaton, because there's 6 stalls but only 3 connections. It means that if there's someone already charging at the first bay and they're getting their maximum, 120 kilowatts, and you go and charge next to them, you'll both get 60. But if you park at any other bay, you'll both get the maximum 125.
Yeah, it's like
If the
it's
car
like
can
urinals,
pull
though,
it.
Pete. It's
It's
just like
that's
urinals. You
the
don't go to the one next door. You go.
that's the best way to remember it. That's the best way to remember it. Just remember the urinal etiquette, and it's exactly the same thing.
They're the only ones that you have to remember that. Everything else is separate.
Yeah, that's the
200.
only version 2
Two.
supercharger in WA.
Yep.
They're all version 3 except Osborne Park, which is now version or quasi version 4. Yeah. It's a version 4 charger with the version 3 cabinet, but yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that. I was asked the other day if Osborne Park was V4, and I said it was. So that's
It
not
is.
right.
It is. Well, the chargers are, but the cabinet's not. So it's only 300?
500. It's 322 kilowatts, but it's only 500 volts, Ant. So your 800 volt cars will charge slower because they've got to do their internal power conversion.
Can I just quickly ask James something? Is that the solar panels that you're wearing like a hat on your in the video at the moment as your background? Are those the ones that were hit? On
No,
the
that's the old ones, Nullarbor Roadhouse, not the other ones.
Border Village.
Border Village.
The one that was hit by the truck last week.
Yeah, these are
Yep.
not. These are the ones that
Alright.
just stopped working for no reason.
Just
No
wondering.
truck required.
That's right. Unfortunately, Ant, the NRMA off-grid design is so bad that the only thing you can, in the majority of cases, you can guarantee is that they will definitely supply less than nameplate if they supply anything at all. The ones you were referring to was the insanity, and I'm just bringing up the image now. The insanity of a truck.
Yeah. Those ones have
Basically,
been trucked.
they've been well and truly trucked.
So
So
while
you
you're bringing
should
that up,
hopefully,
Harold, so you can concentrate on that. My experience at Border Village was we arrived at 4 a.m, charged for 5 minutes, and the whole site went black. And when the charges go out, all the lighting goes off. So there was
Yes.
actually lighting on the edge of those beams to sort of
just
highlight the whole
here.
thing. But and those lights on the sides as well. But when the site went dark, which it did twice while we were in charge, every light in the whole place went off and it was pitch black. Yeah, but the truck does have hopefully headlights at the front, so it should have seen it unless it backed into it.
I mean,
Yeah.
did this truck driver not go to Specsavers or something? Because looking at that picture, I mean, they had to go out of their way to hit it, surely.
Yes. So
Yeah,
that,
and
that's
I have seen trucks idling to the left of those pallets. And so they'll sit there rather than taking up the slots while they go in to get their coffees or whatever, and then drive off from there. So I can imagine a lazy truck driver has, for whatever reason, inexcusable, but has continued too far.
And prior to that charge being there, you'd often see 2 or 3 trucks resting in that position. You know, they'd fill up with petrol or diesel and then pull out of the Bowsers and park there while they went and did other things. So you don't know if he's trying to do the same.
And what's annoying is all that needs to happen is for a technician to turn up with probably a cherry picker, pluck off all the loose bits. So make sure you just basically pick out all the loose parts of metal and solar panel to make sure it's physically safe from falling objects, and then just allow this diesel generator to keep these batteries energized, to keep these chargers going. It doesn't need for everything to be replaced for this site to come back to operate full operation, because the NRMA needs to pretend, because at the moment it seems that's all they'll be doing, is to pretend that this is important nation building infrastructure.
Yeah.
If this was
Maybe
a
somebody
petrol Bowser,
If somebody with an EV wants to drive into the petrol Bowser there, and we'll see which one gets fixed first.
indeed,
100%, James.
that's right. So the NRMA needs to pretend and act as if they thought it was important that nation building EV infrastructure is something that ought to be taken seriously and be maintained as if it was an essential service.
Fake
like
it
many
until you
other
make
things.
fake it until you make it, NRMA.
I'd love them to fake it.
Yeah.
It was actually, it's 3 years and 3 days since to the day today that Minister Chris Bowen announced a 117 site nationwide EV fast DC charging network highway
150.
around Australia.
150 k's apart.
Yes, on average. And there were 117 of them with a co-funding of $39 million 3 years and 3 days ago today.
Yeah.
The announcement was made on the 26th of April in 2023.
I mean, that's ridiculous. I mean, I rolled out the charging network that was half the size of that, and I did that in 9 months. So I can
As
get
long as it takes to have a baby, Paul.
fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
Give me the money.
Having
I'll get it done.
having said that, there is a small glimmer of good news on the eastern edge of the Nullarbor, which is at Nundroo Roadhouse, and that is actually it's an Illumina D1 charger, which I'm trying to bring up the photo, and that oops, you get it there. There it is there at Nundroo Roadhouse, which is between Penong and Yalata.
Right. Oh, okay. So in South Australia, what?
In South Australia, yep, indeed.
Yeah.
So that's an Illumina D1 that can charge a car,
Yeah.
a single car at up to 160 kilowatts. And depending on, I'm not sure what the grid feed in is, whether it'll be between 10 and 40 kilowatts. So this charger can do.
Is that the same as outside neutral, or is it?
Yes, it's exactly the same, Ant. Exactly the same.
So if they can do it there, and NRMA obviously started to do it, then do the same on the Nullarbor. Jeez.
Yeah, exactly. Precisely. So unfortunately, what the NRMA did at Euclid or Dunda and
Yeah.
Nullarbor Roadhouse was they produced this very elaborate look, it's very sexy. I thought initially it was good because this is basically, I can't zoom in properly, but this concrete plinth is basically, it's got on the corners, it's got the same format as a 40-foot sea container. So and then also you've got a hinge, which is about here, whereby this sort of flattens out. And conceptually, the theory was this thing would basically make itself look like a sea container, and then you just kind of unfold stuff and plonk it down, and that would just be easy to do. As it turns out, and if you look at all this steel work, which is rather substantial, this costs vastly more than the solar panels it's elaborately holding. And it's in like a Y shape, so there's another symmetrical side that you can't see. So it conceptually, sorry, wrong image. It conceptually, there's another image of it. So it's very elaborate, very, very heavy and expensive metalwork that makes it expensive. And ironically, sorry, I've just got a Windows process going underneath. Ironically, it forced them to actually bring along with them a 150-ton crane to lift up these petals. So what was sort of notionally going to be a very simple assembly technique actually became counterproductive. And it's compromised the entire design, and you want more solar than this. You can just have it ground mounted on hard stand. It doesn't have to be flash.
Yeah, I think the whole idea is to essentially trumpet the idea that you've got solar on it, instead of just banging it on the ground and have the rest, look just like an above ground charger. Putting those solar panels on a roof is unnecessary.
It just made it very expensive. It restricted the amount of solar that was being used. Look, to be brutally honest, for a consumer, a normal domestic person that owns an EV, the vast majority of all the environmental gains and all of that sort of stuff occurs when they use these cars, as they always do, as their daily driver. It would not matter if these charging stations burned baby pandas to charge an EV on the 1 or 2 weeks in a year that someone does a road trip. That is not the bit that saves the environment, not that last 10%. It's the 90+% of daily use, whereby you can do it on fully renewable grids and all that sort of stuff. So I think the problem was, look, I'm an engineer. The proper role of an engineer, certainly as Elon Musk would explain it, is they're problem solvers. You what the NRMA have come up with is a very this is the sort of thing you'd have on the space station, although actually it'd be far too heavy. But it's kind of the thing where if money was no object and you wanted to do the prettiest sort of elaborate whatever, then go for it. But if you just want to jam electrons into a car in a remote area where land, by the way, isn't expensive, you just slap ground mounted panels on concrete sleepers in a zigzag formation. You don't care about the weeds, you don't care about dust, you don't care about whatever, and you just get it done.
Well,
And
Shane,
actually,
Shane might object to the don't care about dust bit and
oh,
give his
well,
spiel.
no, but
Hey,
what I
Shane.
mean is, the price of panels cost almost nothing per square meter, whereas steel to hold the panels in an elaborate frame is rather expensive.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you can just brute force panels, and I mean, put it this way, and I just purchased 55 kilowatts of panels and the racking to mount it onto a standard steel roof, and the wholesale price was a whole $14,000 plus GST. $14,000 for 55 kilowatts of panels. That's less than
You bought
25.
You bought
Brand
new,
new.
didn't you?
Brand
Yeah.
spanking new. 515 watt panels measuring roughly 2 meters by 1 meter with the racking cost less than 25 cents per watt. Now just let that sink in. Why would you waste $1 on having racking that can lift those panels to a nice 30-degree angle or whatever, when you
Yeah.
just slap down another
Put more
30%
panels
more
at
panels?
Can I add an extra one in here as to where NRMA got shafted, or NRMA shafted the rest of us? I recently bought 170 kilowatt hours worth of batteries for about 9 grand Australian,
Yep,
landed in Australia.
that's correct. The raw material cost, the raw input cost of the components is immaterial. It's what you do with them and how you do it. And what the NRMA did was the most over-engineered, over-elaborate, pointless exercise, because what they thought they were doing, which was
They
having
didn't.
something that
They
could
didn't.
magically be erected on the
Yeah.
back of a truck or whatever, plonked down and just suddenly unfolded like origami, didn't do that function. They had to pay $1,500 a day for a crane to drive thousands of kilometers to just erect these things, which are then
They didn't just.
unserviceable.
They didn't just roll a turd in glitter. They rolled it in actual gold flake.
Exactly. Hey, Trev's had his hand up for a very long time, and thanks, Trev, for being so patient, because I probably wouldn't have been. Let's go to you, and if we want to discuss more about this, we certainly can. But yeah, go, Trev.
It's nothing important, just a bit of feedback that's pretty long overdue. If you remember back about July last year, we went up to Darwin and back, and we started having charging problems with our mobile charger. Upon return, it was coming up with an error. I think it was the detection pin. I can't remember what it's called now, but that wasn't making a good connection. So I brought it up on here. I can't remember the feedback at the time, but eventually I went and saw a few of my neighbours who've got cars, and we figured out that it was our charger and not the car. The next bit was that if we moved the cable into the handle, that didn't make a difference, but moving the handle into the car did make a difference. So I had 3 attempts at trying to pull the handpiece apart and could not get it apart. I tried using AI. I was on forums. I was everywhere, and I could find every other handpiece except for R1. And then I woke up one day to go to work, and the car was dead flat. It hadn't charged overnight. And I said to the wife, I found a place in China that sells the hand things. If I have to break this thing open to find out what's wrong with it, I'm going to find out. Turns out I found out you can use 3 screwdrivers at the same time and it pops apart. So we've got, probably not that easy to see, but we've got ours is an InCharge X. So it's one piece. There's a clip in the back you can undo the clip and gives you access to all the wires, but it wasn't helping me get the plug apart. So there's a very small screw on the bottom side. Sorry, I'm in bad light. There's a
Oh yes,
small
Scott. Yeah, where that label would be. Yes, yep.
So there's one there, and then when I got the screw and I put that into AI and gave it some photos, it pretty much said this thing's been plastic welded, and you're probably not going to be able to get it apart. But it actually has 3 very strong side clips. There's one in the top. It's sort of, I'm trying to get the camera in the right spot. Sort of one there, and then one on each side, and you're essentially prying the outer case out, and this end piece pops out the front.
Yep.
Once I got past there, it was very simple. The front piece that holds the pins actually just holds a circular ring.
Yes.
And the ring grips the backs of the pins and then pushes them forward. Well, our screw had wound itself out about 3/4 of a turn, probably from the vibration of going to Darwin. So once I screwed that back in, it's funny because with that screw 3/4 of a turn out, the pilot pin had about 1.5 to 2 mil of movement, but all the other pins were rock steady. So I'm not sure why that one wasn't gripped quite as well. But once that was tightened up, the pin went rock solid, and it's probably been 4 months now, I suppose, since I did that. But I haven't had a single error, whereas I used to get flooded with notifications on the app saying that there's a problem with the car, and it'd drop out for 10 seconds and then restart again. And so I'm glad I found an answer without having to break it. But
yeah, cool. So that's a single phase. That's a single phase device there.
Yeah, 32 amp. Yeah,
32 amp single phase. Yeah.
So I searched everywhere. There is a part number on the plug, which is how I found a supplier in China that had them. But even with that, I couldn't find anything on AI or anything about how to get them apart. It actually said, there's a seam on the top, and that's where it's been plastic welded. If you get a screwdriver in it, you might be able to break the plastic weld and get it apart. And as soon as I started to scratch at it, I was like, no, that's rock solid. That's a fake. It's like a casting mark. It's not actually a welding mark. So I knew that wasn't it. And the screw at the front was more of the giveaway about how the front should come apart. It was just I had to juggle 3 screwdrivers in those 3 spots all at the same time and then knock it out. So probably no one will ever need to know. But I'm glad I finally found a solution to that stopped those pesky notifications, and then getting left high and dry in the morning, and then having to run out and find the ute which had no fuel in it, and then go fuel that up to be able to get to work on time. I was like, that's it. It's getting fixed.
I would have, I might have got a bit crude on that. I'm sure I'll be told off by the seniors here. I would have ground off about 1 millimeter off the front of the plug, and I'm sure it would have made contact.
Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah, I did go see my neighbour up the road and just said, look, I'm not sure if I break this, I might have to come see you and get all the pins all crimped and whatever. But you could actually, if you drop the plug or you broke it externally, or you squashed it or something, you don't have to change the pins to replace the plug. Once you undo it, they will just slip out, and then you can slip it into the new one. So it's good to know that if we ever did drop it or something. But anyway,
bearing in mind though, Trev, that this is not a Tesla. This is not a Tesla product. This is a third-party charger.
It is. I don't know if a Tesla mobile connector would have a similar setup and could come loose by being stuck in the back of a car for 12,000 Ks, or maybe not.
No, I've had them. I've used the Tesla stuff and the Cons thing for 130,000 Ks in a car, and it's been fine. So
it was probably cool. Looking back, it was probably in the worst spot in the car, because the one free spot that we had when the car was packed was on top of the fridge, so it was sitting on a hard surface getting bounced around rather than being tucked in neatly somewhere. But it just happened to be the best spot where the cord wasn't getting squashed or kinked. So
Trev, I think you're a legend. I think you may have just solved my problem.
What about the
And probably, I don't know when the next time I'll get on here, but let me know next time.
I will do. Cheers, mate. Thank you.
When are we going to start using wireless charging for our Teslas? I know that Horizon Power has been working on it in Fitzroy Crossing. I've put a photograph in the thing. They've got I think it must be a pre-production unit of wireless charging, but I don't know how to pair to it. I'm not sure if it's Bluetooth or not.
Let me just get this image because I think I'm going to be quite entertained. Yes. Dearie me. I'm going to see this in a couple of weeks. It's ridiculous. Hey, hey. Although the only saving grace for Horizon Power it'll be at night time, James, when I see this. So, I guess this is kind of going along with Elon Musk's theme, which is the best part is no part at all. If this computer will work. There we go.
I
So,
thought it was very, very brave of Horizon Power to trial this in the middle of nowhere.
yeah, absolutely. So what we see here is is a fine jet charge product called the ChargeMate. But obviously it's had mates of someone else because it's left the building. And then to the left of this, and then you've got your network cable, which is slightly snipped off. And then to the left of that this is a ridiculous invention of JetCharge as well, which is the payment terminal, Visa card, MasterCard payment terminal.
They've upgraded
Which,
this. We were there because we must have been on version 1 because they only had one box, and now they're on version 2 where there's no boxes.
yes, exactly, that's right. And I'm not sure if that's UMT. I'm not sure what UMT stands for or some other stuff. But yes, it's missing, and sadly, and it's not just actually sad, it's very frustrating.
But I was just
James,
unlucky,
out
though,
of
wasn't I? Did I just arrive there the wrong day? Because surely that would be fixed pretty quickly. I must have just got there on the wrong day.
now let me just check my notes because I did take a photo of that same place back in September and in July and in June.
I
Let's
might
just
peak fly
see.
tomorrow. Sorry, I didn't catch where that was. Is that Halls Creek?
Fitzroy
Fitzroy
Crossing
Crossing.
and Fitzroy Crossing. So, here we go. Oh, yeah. I can't be bothered putting it. I'll just spotlight myself. It'll be okay. Uh, so on the 12th of September, unfortunately, let me just do this. There it basically is on the 12th of September. Same situation. Oh, except you notice that the network cable was actually poking out. It wasn't nicely
Oh,
trimmed
so that's what
back.
our wireless couldn't do. I needed to plug into the
Yeah,
network
yeah,
cable.
yeah. That was the 12th of September. So let me guess. This was the 26th of May. So we were progressing. We just like cigarette burned it and stuff, the payment terminal on the 26th of May 2025. And the 19th of January 2025, we'd already smashed we're doing progressive testing of the Fitzroy Crossing site. That's more than a year ago, where that was already broken and not working. I'm sure I've probably got, I might be able to find, maybe I used it once or twice successfully, ever, in the last 3 years since it was installed. But the recurring theme is it just gets broken up in the Kimberley and stays broken kind of forever.
Or has it ever been fixed since it first went offline?
No,
So it's not been rebroken. It's just never fixed.
no. So anything that's broken doesn't get fixed, and anything that's in a certain state of brokenness just increasingly gets more broken until it actually just isn't there to be
Entropy.
broken anymore.
Yeah.
Entropy increases greatly on a Horizon Power charger, as it does with a Queensland Electric superhighway charger. So really, the WAV network, at least the Horizon Power part of it, the Queensland Electric superhighway, the NRMA / federal Labor government funded highway does the same thing. entropy increases, you plant your flag, you install your charger, you plant your flag, you declare victory, you walk off, and then your hapless charger is at the mercy of the elements and the locals that just destroy it, and nothing ever happens. And in fact, I've heard from recent reports from Horizon Power that these chargers have a low utilization rate, so therefore they're not quite treated with the same sense of urgency as other things that might be more utilized. The only problem is, James, I'm not sure that
How do you utilize something that hasn't got?
it's that this setup would be utilized a lot because there's not a lot there to utilize just quietly. So I guess you call that a infinitely recursive loop of pointlessness,
Stupidity.
and that too.
Sort of build it and they will come.
And this is what's this? Well, I don't even know what that says.
Owned by the people of WA.
Oh, right. So we own this.
Well,
Right.
clearly some people are taking that to heart. They're taking bits home.
Yes, that's right. That's right. And just in case, anyone sort of forgets, this is powered by Horizon Power. So, and it's owned.
Not powered by Horizon Power.
Yeah, well, there's power in this box. It's just not going to where it needs to be, which is the EV that's trying to get some charge.
Maybe someone could stick a 3-phase plug on it.
As a matter of interest, is the cable coming out of it, the Type 2 cable, the CCS2 cable, is that still there?
Yeah, James, I think it was. James?
Which one?
The
actual
the
charging
DC cable.
Yeah, the DC cable's still there.
So what you're saying is, essentially, if it was similar to a Tesla supercharger where there was no screen, no user interface or anything, it would be fine.
It's only the bolted on bits that have been falling off.
Well, in fact, let me just spotlight this and do that. So this is a photo I took in September 2024. So that's a while ago. What you'll see there is gaffer tape in the center underneath the letter B, or that little thing there. All of this stuff is gaffer tape covering up the touchscreen that was smashed. And that was an attempt to stop the rain from getting in, to stopping it from working.
And the Derby one's like that now.
Oh, great. Yeah, thanks, James, because James actually patched it up to stop the rain from coming in, because the rain will break it. So Ant, I guess,
What can you say, really?
what can you say? It's beyond sad. It's actually it's well beyond sad. It's pathetic.
Put it in a secure environment, and you will get, then it'll still be there. I don't understand why they can't do that.
Well, please put it in these remote areas, and there are local issues and whatever. Put it in the cop shop compound.
Yeah.
And if it means that there's a notification that says you can only charge this, you can only use this charger as an EV between the hours of 6 a.m. and 7 p.m. or whatever, well, so be it. It pains me to say that that's better than nothing. But right now, putting it at the mercy of the elements is worse than nothing, because, in fact, it is worse than nothing. Back in 2018, when I did my first lap the hard way on nothing but 3-phase power, and and no DC charging between Perth and Townsville, going north to Broome and Darwin. So there was no fast DC charging anywhere until Townsville. At least I knew what I had, and it worked.
Yeah.
Today, someone who just has bought an EV and says, let's just go across the Nullarbor, as James has experienced just a couple of weeks ago, you just don't know what you're going to get to. So if you said, I'm going to do 1,000 Ks in a day because that's a good trip, and book at XYZ Roadhouse, well, you probably won't make it, and you won't know which one it was. Like Norseman, a quality Kempower unit which is not at fault, but it has a certain product inside it or attached to it that is provided by a third party who we don't need to name, has failed yet again. And Horizon Power goes, low utilization, urgency, not much, care factor, 0. Is this? Yep.
I put a photograph of the petrol Bowser in Fitzroy Crossing.
Oh yes. Oh, this is the
I was just about to
BP.
ask that, actually.
This is the BP. Yep,
Yeah.
I know this well,
Is
and
it
I've
va- is it
I've
vandalised?
I've seen the locals rattle it when I've been there before they did this. So this is this going to work? Yes, here we go. I was there, James, a few years ago when this wasn't done, and they used to just have locks, and I'd seen locals rattling just in case they could get a dribble, but they basically have cages and padlocks at night time.
So you're saying this is not an unknown issue with infrastructure
Yes.
left unattended?
Mm-hmm. Yep. And
It wouldn't be that hard to put a cage like that around a charger. You need to log in and say, I want to charge before it unlocks the lock. It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah. Yeah.
in fact,
I think I even know someone who does security like that.
in fact, Shane, it wouldn't be hard to. You could imagine having, let's call it a box with a roller shutter, and you've got to do something, and the roller shutter opens.
Yep.
And then you can
That's
get stuff
that's
done.
the sort of thing I mean. It's like you
Yeah.
log in on the app or whatever it is, and the roller shutter comes up.
Well,
Yep.
I know in the US, is it at Lost Hills or one of those chargers? No. What's the one with the Tesla Lounge? It's in California.
Oh, there's quite a few,
Fireball.
Pete.
Fireball, I think it is. So yeah, it's got a lounge there, and to get access to the lounge, you've got to go into the app and open the door. So
Yep.
it's already being used there for that exact application.
That's correct. I'm going to go to you, Mike, in 2 seconds.
Hang on,
back-
I just spotted 2 weeks.
Hello, Jared.
I just
And I'm-
spotted 2 weeks.
And you're on mute, mate. You're muted.
It's been so long.
You're still muted. He's forgotten how he hasn't used Zoom for so long. No, you're still muted, mate. We can still see your little red thing. While you're sorting that out, because it's been a while, back in the dark ages. Oh, no, back in the dark ages when ATMs were quite new and there was a little bit of crime going on with people looking over your shoulder and stuff, the R&I Bank, when that used to be a thing, had a swipe card because my company did it. You'd have to badge your key card, which at the time, swipe it onto a reader, and that would unlock an automatic door or open an automatic door, so you go into like a cubicle or a alcove in the bank section to get access to it. So we're talking in principle of restricting access to something to people that deserve to use it or are entitled to use it is not unknown. This is not rocket science. It's been done for decades. Now, before we go to you, Jared, let's go because Mike's had his hand up for quite a while, and yeah, Mike, go.
Mine will be the end thing. So you go on to Jared.
Oh, okay, Jared,
How you going?
brother, welcome back.
Thank you.
Where the
It's
where the
been
fuck
at
have
least
you
it's been at least 2 weeks since you've been
Yeah.
on before.
Had a small stretch. I was in Long Bay jail for a little while, and just got out on parole. So yeah,
Right.
pretty Jared, are you the sniper? I don't know. I like to tell sniper, snapper, all the same thing. You know,
Snipper snapper. Yep.
snapper. So
Welcome back, brother. Unfortunately, you've actually gone at a time where this is normally our bedtime because we try. You know, in the good old days, we used to do episodes longer than Ben-Hur because, well, we could. Yeah, that's right. But you know, we're all getting a bit older, and well, some of us are, and we're trying to be a little bit more disciplined. But yeah, welcome back, and don't be a stranger. And it's only because I'm busting for a wee that we need to wrap up this show soon. Jokes only. Mike, what was your I know what you're going to talk about certain rockets going up soon.
Yeah. So
Well, before we get on to that,
Okay, go on, Steve.
Next Wednesday, Harold.
Yes, Steve. We're going
no
to
Ask Us
the
Anything.
Como Hotel.
Yes.
Oh, that sounds lovely.
So there won't be an Ask Us Anything Zoom next week.
Very good point. And I'm hoping there won't be one the week after either, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, no, very good. No, thanks, Steve. Very good point. There is a casual meetup at the Como Hotel, and if memory serves me correctly, it'll be at 6:30 next Wednesday.
Yep.
Or this coming Wednesday.
Yeah, a week today.
There'll be an email being sent out by our secretary. Hey, Pete. Unless you want me. Oh, no, okay, I'll do it. That's all right. I'll do it. Don't worry.
I'm happy to do it, but yeah.
No, it's cool. It's all right. You didn't get that memo. That's okay. Well, it'll be sent out tomorrow for those that are on our list. But anyone watching this, please feel free to come to the Como Hotel. It's a casual meetup. You don't need to book or anything or tell us you're coming. Just turn up if you want to or not. I guess you could say spiritually, it's basically an in-person Ask Us Anything, really. Between 6:30 and it'll go for as long as the last person's there. So it's totally casual and everyone's welcome. And if you've got any friends or anyone whatsoever, ask them to come along because it's just a whole bunch of people that enjoy EVs and Teslas, and you know, we just chat about cars or whatever. So it's a cool event.
I don't have
Can
any
you guys
friends.
put up a
I'll
notice?
follow.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, go, Ant, and then we'll go, Mike.
No, I just said I've got no friends, so I'll come.
Very good, Ant. Yeah, very good. I haven't got a clever retort to that because I'm busting for a wee and I can't think straight.
Yes.
Go, Mike, and then James, and then we're going to go Jared, and then we're going to go outro.
So I was just going to say, I don't know, maybe Tesla won't do this, but I was thinking you could put, I don't know, a flyer or whatever it is on the Tesla notice board, O'Connor and Aussie Park saying Tokwa, you know the guys, because I just think there's all these new people or who are buying these Teslas at the moment, and you know there's a lot of use from these conversations. I know we dribble on a bit at times, but there's certainly a lot of use. So I don't know what Tesla's feeling about this sort of thing is. They're probably a bit anti it, but just a thought.
Yeah, yes. Yeah.
We do have
We have done, and we do, and sporadically we get flyers out, and sometimes they get out of stock of them, and sometimes we replenish them, and it ebbs and flows, Mike. It's it's a process.
So I was going to comment for those when we finish today. There is a relatively rare launch from SpaceX today in T-minus 35 minutes.
If they don't scrub.
Falcon Heavy. So Viasat. So for those who don't know, Falcon Heavy is the normal Falcon with two side boosters. I put a link to NSF in the NASA spaceflight in the chat because it's up on the screen at the moment. But SpaceX have it on X usually. So if you're an X person, you can go there. But this is a daytime launch, so we'll be able to see most things. There is a bit of high cloud looking at it. I don't think we'll see the double booster close together landing like we did in the earlier ones, because this hasn't flown since 2024.
Yep, it's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while because the landing zones are now miles apart, couple of miles apart, because they've shifted the old one that was next to the other one.
Yep.
So we might not get a footage of two landing at once. But anyway, for those of you interested in rockets, T minus 34 minutes. So after this, you can get your cup of tea and have a quick watch for 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah,
all good.
Very good. Excellent. All right, thanks, Mike and James, and then we're going to throw to Jared, and then we're going to throw to Pete, and then throw to me, and then
just an important disclaimer from an early comment. TOCWA does not endorse the burning of pandas, adult or child, to power your car. For those interested, though, a fully grown panda would produce 420 megajoules, so therefore it would take the average of 2 fully grown pandas to fully charge a Tesla. But we do not endorse that.
That's a lot of panda. That's not many pandas to the mile, actually, or miles to the panda. But okay, all right.
Maybe that could be the new definition of cars
efficiency.
WLTP is pandas per.
And just because I remember it, did you know that there's a few YouTube videos that talk about units and how interesting units are? Miles per gallon or liters per 100 kilometer isn't the correct fundamental unit of ICE car efficiency or consumption. It's square millimeters of petrol. So you imagine in a car, you're driving along in a petrol car, you have a funnel and a line of petrol, and it's the square millimeters of the cross-sectional area of that line, that noodle of petrol is the true fundamental unit of efficiency for that vehicle. But with that useless piece of information, Jared, we got to go. Sorry, brother, we got to wrap this show up.
I came far too late. Yeah.
No, but you're going to come earlier, and we're gonna have a proper session, and we might even do an extended one.
Okay.
Just to celebrate the resurgence of Mr. Hawk.
We actually should. We should have an old timers.
An old timers session.
Oh, that sounds good.
One that goes into 1 a.m.
One that goes
Jesus.
hours. I like that one. We'll bring it back.
Yes. The Ben-Hur revival, the Ben-Hur 2. Yes, exactly.
Next week's the Como Hotel. Is that in the outside section in the beer garden where the boxing is? I saw on the news last night, I think it was the Como Hotel. They were doing boxing in the beer garden.
Oh,
Roy and
was that with or without the jelly? I'm not sure. I can't remember.
Yeah, it was on the news. It was great. It was a Como Hotel. So,
right. Awesome.
At night that you'll be going Wednesday night. So.
Well, I just suggest we all need to go there to find out, just in case, because it could be good.
Are you still buying the Model Y long range Y?
Yeah. Getting it next Thursday, not tomorrow, the one after.
So just explain to me quickly, how come I'm still waiting for my performance? I haven't even got a VIN yet, and I've been waiting 2 months.
Because it's coming from Germany, mate. It's there's a
Germany.
war on. Yeah. It takes
sausages or something.
You'll get it in 2 weeks. The VIN.
2 weeks.
You'll get the VIN in 2 weeks. All right, it's well past our time. Pete, how would you round out? What am I doing? How would you round out an awesome show like this, as if I didn't already know?
As always, stay safe, stay sustainable, and stay 2 weeks ahead of the curve.
And the best way to do that is buy a Tesla 2 weeks in advance, join TOCWA, and ask us anything about accelerating the world's transition to sustainable energy and abundance. Obviously, next week we actually don't have a show. We will be at the Como Hotel, but after that, we may or may not have a show. But anyway, whenever we do have our next episode, I really do look forward to seeing you on the next episode of Tokwa's Ask Us Anything. Good night, everyone.
Good
I
night.
know.
Right.
Nice to see you, Jared.
Yeah.
See you in a couple of weeks.
Oh, that didn't even end. Oh, that's really terrible.
Oh,
All right,
no.
we really are going right now.